So maybe there's one topic that we wanted to explore a little bit, and hopefully we have enough time because it's a very deep theme. I wanted to perhaps ask you, how did your career develop? There's a transition point in your career where you shifted from being a very successful opera singer and musician to becoming a teacher. Maybe you could walk
Yeah,
us through that. But also, what was the kind of the peak of your opera singing career? Were you very busy, and how exciting was that for you?
I, you know, I never thought that I had an amazing career because I have some friends who had really amazing career, and I didn't get to that level, but I was working as an opera singer, which is a big achievement, to work and not just to learn and not do anything with that. I did sing with the Israeli Opera House, in this. I sang with the Philharmonic Orchestra in England. I worked in festivals. I worked with as a leader, as a soloist in many, many, many concerts. Uh, um, Throughout Europe. I lived in London for many, many years and I worked there quite a lot, and then in Israel as well, and in America, and other places in Europe. But I'd say that I didn't, um, uh, something stopped me from before I got to the top of what could be. I was very close, but I didn't get to the top of the level of the opera singing, and I think it was fear. It was definitely fear, and in some point in my life, which I was really at the, everything was like happening, and I had a gig here and quite really wonderful recordings waiting for me and everything, and I had something in my vocal cords, like a burst vessel, which is like, I don't know how to say, it's like a footballer broke the leg or something like that. But the footballer would know that it will heal and it will go back to play. Okay, so it's not the end of the world. Depends on the injury, obviously. But when a singer has some kind of injury in the vocal cords, we have only two vocal cords. One goes, what do you do? And and the kind of injury that I had was very simple to amend. That surgeons can do that with the eye closed, I know. But for me, it was a big, big thing and a crisis, I'd say. And as a young singer, I thought that I've lost it. That's it, finished. No career, nothing, no, everything I worked for is just gone. And I wish somebody would really explain that to me, that that's not the case. That's not going to happen. You will go back and do what you need to do. I had a wonderful teacher in Nottingham in England, and she sort of believed in me very much, and she believed that I'll go through this operation and I'll come out of it, I'll be fine. And she sort of almost held my hand, to do that. I was very far away from my parents because I lived in England and everything. And Michelle Wegworth, that's her name. And she helped me a lot. And 10 days after the operation, you need to keep silence, complete silence, vipassana. That's the first time I did it without knowing that I did it. And then my voice healed fantastically, and I think it was much better. But before the operation, I took some reflexology treatments because I was really scared. I was really scared. And I didn't know what's going to come. And some people did have damaged the voice by operations. It's not always going very smoothly. But I was afraid of it, and I took that, and I really loved the reflexology sessions. This woman helped me so much, and I felt so relaxed, and I think the whole thing went through so smoothly, and the healing. And after that time, I said to myself, I want to learn something that will help people feeling safe. And that's what I felt. I felt safe. And I studied reflexology, and I qualified as a reflexologist, and I even worked as such for a while because I didn't go back to full, a gear of working because I took it slowly and everything. And for a few years, or 2 years, I think I was working as a reflexologist, turned and entered a completely different world from singing, healing world. And all my colleagues became healers, like all masseurs and reflexologists and everything. And I was exposed to a completely different world that I didn't know existed. And that opened my heart and opened my wish to learn some new skills and not to depend only onto my two vocal cords. And I realized that I have other skills and I could be good in that. And talking to people, hearing their suffer, hearing their pains, relating to them, opened me up in a way that I can't even discover. And I think it was also a turning point for me as an opera singer who was going one way, like I was very focused and wanted to do it very quickly, into somebody who sees other people, who listen to people, who can actually contain the pain, of other people. And I think although I didn't do it forever, and I went back to sing in a different way, and still had a lot of gigs coming and concerts, but I was in a different phase already. I didn't have that urge to conquer the world, to be everywhere. I was much more modest. I wanted to take it differently, slower. My rhythm changed completely, and I slowly drifted into teaching. I'd say drifting because it was a natural. I knew I was a teacher. I've learned how to teach. I've become officially I'm a teacher. I've learned to be a teacher. But I think the singing and the experience as a singer, plus the healer or the inside of me, and the person who wants to help people shift, become a very, very, I'd say, a major fact into being a successful teacher, I guess. I call it successful because I attracted more and more people over the years, like hundreds, I'd say, I don't know, maybe thousands of people who came to me to study because I think I had those combination of qualities. I mean, there's amazing teachers in the world, amazing singers and amazing healers, but I think the combination of it is somehow helped me to attract the right people and that will come into my space and could benefit from what I've learned. And maybe I could summarize the whole conversation as being vulnerable and allowing myself to be vulnerable. And singers are very vulnerable people, but they don't show it. So
Yes.
that gave me the opportunity to be completely exposed and and then, it's the best way for you. Maybe it answers your first question about how to communicate what you want to the world with your singing is being vulnerable, but have a lot of power, and confidence in what you do.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's hard not to be vulnerable when you keep expanding your capacity to feel.
Mhm.
Then that's the only way to be. And yeah, maybe it has this mysterious connection with power because only when we have the capacity to feel things fully can we actually respond. Because I think otherwise in life we are often reacting because we have this sense of confusion of what's happening in the first place. So it's interesting that vulnerability and our responsiveness and to respond in a powerful way goes hand in hand. So I had a question for you. So when that big event happened, when you had this accident, as you was mentioning, as a singer, that is that can be devastating, because we rely on our voice. And when you made this transition into reflexology, was there a conscious decision? Did you ever know that you were going to make your way back into the singing world, or do you think you were just going with the flow at the time and there wasn't much thinking involved?
I I was just I understood that if my vocal cords are damaged or my voice is not functioning as I wanted, then I don't have income. I was relying on that. And like one day, you know, everything that you know of yourself that you can do is gone, or you don't know how long is it going to last for. And nobody could tell me, how fast I'll be go back to myself. But I think that I thought ahead and I said, well, I like that and I want to immerse myself into something which is totally new and it was very different from what I did. It's not that I've decided, okay, now I will play the piano or I just wanted to go as far as possible from the singing. And I think that was a good choice because it I was in an environment of healing. So even if I was a reflexologist and worked with people, everybody around me was that too. My new friend was Mary, and I would go with her to treat people, and we had a little company that we could go into business and do it on site. And I'm an entrepreneur, I think, and I've invented myself kind of jobs, but I kept on singing a little bit. Of course, I was trying my instrument. I believed that I would go back to singing. That was stronger than life, that singing was my thing, and I just had a pause, if you know what I mean, in time. And I wasn't sure if I would go back to reflexology, but once I started singing and it started, go back, and I just didn't do it anymore. I didn't do the reflexology anymore. It was clear for me that I'm back on track, and back there. This is my path, and I just went to the side a little bit. I've learned what I needed to learn, but I'm a singer, so went back to do the singing. And I do suggest people to have, apart from singing, another job or another thing they can do. Because, yes, we're very vulnerable physically and emotionally, and the vocal cords can do, things can happen. So it's better that you have another source of income or source of interest that keeps you not going down and getting depressed about that as well, because it's a real downer. when you,
Yeah, I can
yeah,
only imagine that.
yeah, yeah,
So in your it clearly it prepared you for the your second phase of becoming a much more effective teacher, so to speak. What and earlier when we were speaking, you had said that students don't just come to you now for singing, but there are other people who come to you more from the angle of you being a healer. I was wondering if you could
yeah.
share how, I mean, in a way I have some sense of how that happens, but love to hear from you how people approach you.
Yeah, I first of all, I know that I have that sort of tendency of working on a different level or with singing, and it's very present in my workshops, even more than in the one-to-one lessons. Uh, but I'd say that I don't call myself a therapist. I'm not a therapist, and I don't say that my voice lessons are going to treat you and you're gonna you heal yourself emotionally. No, I don't say any of this because uh, but I think it's the quality that you provide as a person or as a you know it's something that happens in within that space that I teach, that people feel like they've been healed. And I have, it's very funny, but I have a lot of psychologists coming to study singing with me. And some of them say, Ruti, I feel like you don't need a therapist. You can just come to you and work with you. And I'd say that it's probably right for a lot of singing teachers, not just to me. I really think that singing does that. It's not just the teacher, the music, the opening, the text, the songs, the words. I can tell so much about the choice of words of songs, about the people and the moods they're in, and the phase they are in by choosing songs, specific songs. And I think what it means that when people come to lessons, they sometimes don't tell me that they're going through a hard patch or something like that, but it's been discovered and revealed during the lesson. And sometimes the tears will come, or hysterical laughter, or jokes, or anything, can come, or some information. They'll tell me about what's going on in their lives. They unfold, something will happen. And it happens because of this beautiful conditions of music, harmony, great songs, texts, the voice work itself, the physical work, the talking, the conversation, and the feeling and the safe feeling that they experience. And I think that provides that healing space. And I guess that's what they're attracted to, and they come back and back and back. So I understand that it does something to them. And yes, and I also hear feedbacks and stories about how things shifted for people, and which is so lovely to hear, and they started to do something. They got the confidence to go and perform, the confidence to record an album at the age of 50, or get married. I know a lot of things can happen, from being in an environment that supports you like this. When you do something you love, of course.
Yeah, fabulous. I think earlier when I was speaking to you, at least here in America, I don't know how it is in other parts of the world, but there is a lot of resurgence of sort of shamanic traditions from Latin America, and people who study them often, the healers, there is always a component of voice.
Yes.